All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, May 19th. We got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Excuse me if my voice sounds a little off or this lacks energy or whatnot. We're still, like I told you yesterday, we weren't feeling that well. It's kind of gotten worse, and we're battling the elements today. So kind of battling through the flu game type thing here. So apologies if it does sound a little weird or if this is a little bit quicker of a video, but like we always do, guys, we're going to go through each and every one of these MLB games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, all of my final plays, if you do want to fade me and do the opposite, all of those plays are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, pretty fadeable night, a 2-4 night. It's not as bad as it looks. 3 of those 4 losses were quarter unit plays, or 2 wins were half unit wins, one of them being plus money, the Yankees and Cubs money line parlay there. But nonetheless, still not what I want to see, right? I feel like we've been having good day, bad day, good day, bad day since we got back from Philly last week. But nonetheless, hoping to bounce back tonight. Do got to give a big old shout out here to Race with another ride of the day cash. This one was like plus 150 on some sports books. We shall take it. He had the Brewers' first 5 money line. Top of the 4th, they had to drop 4 runs to take the lead. But you know what? They did it. If you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, all you got to use is that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. I jump on board with one person's pick, give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss, and over on my Twitter. Make sure to follow me there. And if you win, we continue to ride with your pick. So this will be day number 3 of riding with Race there. So Race, looking forward to seeing what you throw in the comments. But guys, let's go ahead and jump into this slate. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Again, I do apologize if it's apparent that I don't feel well, you know what I mean? It's not all that terrible. If I felt deathly ill, we'd probably, figure it out. But we're able to do the video. Thank you for all the well wishes. Like, hey, if you don't feel well, you don't need to do the videos. Like, I know the line, and appreciate everyone saying that yesterday. Let's battle through again today, but hopefully, you know what? The doctor ordered a nice winning night. Hopefully, that's going to be the case. But let's jump into game number 1 here. We have St. Louis taking on Boston. Matthew Liberatore on the mound for St. Louis, going up against Nick Pivetta here. On the season, Liberatore has a 4.56 ERA compared to Pivetta's 3.48, whip of a 1.02 on the Pivetta side of things. But his FIP isn't all that great, 5.06. That being said, his expected FIP is 3.06, so due for some progression there. So far, St. Louis has absolutely dominated, 10-6 and then 7-2 in this series so far. I think the Red Sox pull one out. I think they have a slight pitching advantage here. The bullpen should be good to go. They only had a couple guys go yesterday, so I'm going to lean towards the Red Sox in this spot. We've leaned the Red Sox every game so far. They've got crushed, so we don't have, admittedly, the best read on this series so far. But I feel like out of all the 3 games so far, this is going to be one that I'm most comfortable with. Boston last 30 days here against lefties, went on the road, 5th in average, 5th in WRC+, 5th in on-base percentage, so I like to see that. They're also going to get a lot of fastballs, cutters, sinkers, and changeups from Liberatore. They hit those pitches fairly well. 6th best runs above average per 100 fastballs. So, yeah, I like that spot for the Red Sox. In terms of odds, best thing you're getting right now is -115. Based on a team that has lost both these games handily so far in the series, I wish we were getting better odds. That may be something that keeps us off it, but nonetheless, leaning towards the Red Sox. I'm also going to lean towards the under just due to the fact that I feel like St. Louis to some degree has to come back down to earth. There's been 16 and 9 runs so far in this series. I think at some point we have a less than, 9-run type of a game. Next up, we have Baltimore taking on Seattle. Decent series so far. Baltimore wins game number 1. Seattle battles back, wins game number 2 yesterday, 4-3. Today we have Corbin Burns on the mound for Baltimore, going up against George Kirby. And you'll note that total is at 7, very, very low. Obviously, due to the fact that the 2 pitchers pitching today are very good, and these bullpens are good as well. My play in this one is actually, I think Seattle's bullpen's fairly taxed, so and honestly, Baltimore's is too, now that I think about it. So definitely something to note there. Kind of aligns right with what I want to look at here. But my first play in this one, I think, is going to be the first 5 under 4.5 in terms of a total. Trusting both of these pitchers. You can get that right now for -150, so it's a little juiced, but it's over on BetMGM. I don't mind that spot. Compared to other books here, it's, -166 on DraftKings and then -190 over on FanDuel. So definitely some value on BetMGM, even though it is fairly juiced already. Again, -150, under 4.5, first 5 total is going to be my main play. I think from this perspective, it may be worth taking a peek at the Mariners for plus 130. They've shown that they can compete in this series, and you still have the Orioles struggling against righty arms. You know what I mean? In terms of their last 30 days against right-handed pitchers, and George Kirby coming from the right side, 30th in average. In fact, I'll just show you right here on the dashboard. By the way, to get access to this dashboard, just become a channel member. There's a link in the description. There should also be a join button somewhere near the subscribe button. $2.99 a month. You get this dashboard every day. But anyways, Baltimore, 30th in average, 30th in on-base percentage, bottom 5 in WRC plus, OPS, and slugging. So I still think that there is a path to take Seattle here on the money line. But again, I do think a final play could be the first 5 under 4.5. I like that spot. If you want to go under 4, you can obviously get some better odds, minus 120, which you're kind of taking and accepting the push if it were to happen. But if you don't want to get priced out at minus 150, right? And I'll say this about the full game total. If you can get it at 7.5, which that is out there, a lot of books have it at 7, but if this thing moves to 7.5, I don't mind that either. I would rather kind of like, focus in and trust both of these pitchers than worried about 2 good bullpens, but 2 fairly taxed bullpens, if that makes sense, right? Next up, we got the Yankees taking on the White Sox. We got Rodon on the mound for the Yanks. 3.31 ERA, 3.1 ERA with a 1.22 whip this year. Going up against Chris Flexen, who has obviously had like some good starts this year, but overall the numbers 4.5 ERA, 1.3 whip, a 4.3 FIP. Nothing really to write home about, and obviously this Yankees offense has been pretty damn good. Like the outlier in their last 5 games or so was, I want to say, the 4 runs scored in that game number 1, But they've been giving you a floor of 4 in like 6 straight games. So I don't think the White Sox necessarily have the firepower to keep up with them. But the only way you could play this legitimately would be taking a peek at the Yankees on the run line. But their run line today is minus 2.5. So we're probably staying away from this. Maybe the Yankees find their way into some sort of a money line parlay like we cashed yesterday. For plus money, we had the Yankees and the Cubs. I could see something similar to that going in there, because I do think the Yankees have obviously a decent edge here, but I'm not all that interested in pulling the trigger on a minus 2.5 favorite here in this spot. When it comes to a total 8 runs, yes, I think the Yankees are going to give you their numbers, but like I said, I don't expect the White Sox necessarily keep up with them or even be able to keep up with them. If we look at the dashboard, you'll see the Yankees greened out when it comes to offense. We understand that, right? But the White Sox definitely have some improvement to do. So I don't think that this is going to be a 2-sided affair, probably a 1-sided. So I'm going to lean slightly towards the under just due to the fact that, I don't think both teams are going to contribute evenly today. I'd also consider the Nerfy in this spot. And you might be thinking, well, the Yankees offense, like they should be able to get out and going and all that. But Chris Flexen this season has hit the Nerfy in 71% of his games. That is 5 of 7. So I like him to be able to, at least for the first top of the lineup there, be able to kind of hold his own. And then you have Rodon on the mound, kind of a good recipe. He's hit the Nerfy in 56% of his games, his starts this season, but then you also have the White Sox, who are not prolific offense, right? So I don't mind taking a peek at the Nerfy overall either. And by the way, we get the question all the time. The Nerfy, NRFI, is no runs in the first inning. So Yerfy's is yes runs in the first inning. Nerfy is no runs in the first inning. It's also known as first inning under 0.5 total, All right, next up, we have Philly taking on Washington. Obviously, we've been hammering Philly, but they've actually started to kind of go cold on us, whether we've been taking them first five, total team total over. Like, Philly's been kind of getting cold on us, but they do have Aaron Nola on the mound, who's 5-2 this season. He's got a 3.1 ERA, 1.09 whip, which is all great. But Trevor Williams on the bump for the Nationals is nothing to tip your nose at. 4-0 this season, a 1.9 ERA with a 1.06 FIP. So I do think that this could be a spot in which both pitchers have some success. But the problem is Philly's bats have just been really good against righties as of late. First in average in the last 30 days, second in WRC plus, third in both walk rate and K rate, first in on-base percentage, second in OPS, second in slugging, and sixth in ISO. So I do think this could be a spot in which the Phillies get to Williams enough to pull it out. The problem is we're looking at a 238 money line tag, so it's a little bit too much for me. Maybe this is a spot in which we just trust both pitchers to say, all right, full game under, we'll take it like that. But I expect this to be like a 4-3 win for the Phillies to, I think that's what the game ended up being yesterday too, right? 4-3. So I like that spot in that score prediction. It stays marginally under, but not enough for me to get to Washington money line. If you want to ride with Williams, who's been pitching well, for plus 205, I can see it. That might be worth a flyer. I just can't really get there. So I'll lean towards the under in Philly on the money line. But similar to how we talked about the Yankees, maybe in only some sort of money line parlay. All right, Toronto taking on Tampa Bay here. Tampa Bay comes back, wins that one yesterday. They've now won both games in the series. I like Tampa Bay heading into this. The one concern I have is I don't necessarily see Toronto being swept in Toronto by Tampa Bay, who has struggled at times this year. But the pitching matchup should yield, favorable to Tampa Bay. They have Aaron Savali on the mound going up against Alek Manoah, who does have a good start this year. I guess we can give him a little bit of credit. His first really good start, and honestly a long time, right? Only a second start of the season, but even at last year being, sent down and whatnot. But 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 runs, none of them earned, 1 home run, 6 Ks, 1 walk. He did pitch well. It was against Minnesota too, a decent, lineup against righties and whatnot. So I'll give him credit, but I still do think that I lean towards Toronto. But the thing probably keeping me away from pulling the trigger is the fact that we're looking at a sweep here. And if you were to ask me before the series, is there a sweep on either end? I'd say no. These two teams are fairly even matched enough that I'd envision a 2-1 type of a spot. So, yeah, overall, I think I lean towards Tampa Bay if this was in a vacuum, but I could see someone making an argument for Toronto today. In terms of the total, right now it's sitting at 8.5. I'm going to lean towards the under. Giving Alek Manoah a little bit of credit there. I think Savali's going to have a good game as well. He's obviously been hit or miss at times this season, but overall, maybe I just have a soft spot for him because we've bet on him plenty. He's cashed when we have bet on him and everything like that. So I like the under in this spot. Maybe another first 5 type of under. We'll see what we end up coming up with. I will tell you guys right now, my voice is failing me. I don't know if you can hear it going downhill, but we got to get this video. Then we got to get the NBA video. We got this. Let's keep the train going. All right, Cleveland taking on Minnesota. I feel like we have had a pretty bad read of this series so far, including our final plays yesterday. We like Minnesota on the money line and the first 5 money line. Now, that being said, we split it because we wanted to see, which one would kind of give us better odds. Doesn't matter because they both lost, right? So we dropped a half unit on Minnesota yesterday. They've now lost 3-2, which is manageable, right? But then 11-4 yesterday. But today on the mound, they're trying out Chris Paddock, and I can't really put my trust back in them. So hell, I'll look for another sweep here, or a sweep, I should say. Trusting Tanner Bybee on the mound for Cleveland. He's had his ups and downs, but overall, I just kind of have lost the fire for betting Minnesota in this series because it's kind of burned us a couple times. And Chris Paddock, only has a few plate appearances against these current Cleveland Guardians roster. 375 average. K rate is up there, but nothing really that you want to write home about here. Whereas Tanner Bybee, 57 plate appearances against this current Twins roster. 220 average, 279 WOBA. An expected batting average of 270, so it's going to jump a little bit, but I do like his chances here. So give me Cleveland, as well as a slight lean towards the under. All right, Miami taking on the Mets here. So far, Miami, it's been their series. 8-0 winning game number 1, 10-9 win yesterday, but they have Sixto Sanchez on the mound, too. I don't like. And Sean Manaea on the mound for the Mets, who I also don't necessarily like, but he's had a few good starts in a row. His last 4 starts, or even his last 5, 2.4 ERA, 4 strikeouts, but he had 6 in his last start. I think that he has a good chance here against this Miami team. Overall, and you know what? He is a lefty. Miami struggles against lefties. They're a little bit better against lefties and righties, but still, they're struggling against any pitcher they see offensively, right? Not in this series, but in the last 30 days. The one thing I'll say here is that we faded the Mets 2 nights in a row, right? And it's cash both times. Well, now they're facing a righty. They struggle against lefties, but the Mets are at least mediocre to good against righties. And when they're on the road against righties in the last 30 days here, they look pretty damn good there in terms of being top 5 of almost every offensive category right here in the dashboard. So give me the Mets here on the money line. In terms of price, you can get them at -140 on ESPN. That seems like it's a decent amount, but it seems like it actually could be a final play today in a bounce back spot for them. After getting crushed in game number 1, blowing it in game number 2, I can't envision them dropping a third one straight here. In terms of total, I'll lean towards the over because what have we seen so far in this series that would indicate an under? And I'm kind of hoping that the Mets offense shows up today like it did yesterday, but maybe this Miami team continues to put up, a decent amount of runs, and 7.5, we pass by and cruise by and go, see ya on the way by. So over 7.5. All right, Kansas City taking on Oakland. My favorite spot in this game is actually going to be taking a peek at a player prop here for just about even odds over on FanDuel. Brady Singer over 5.5 strikeouts. Now, you look at his game log, and he's only hit this in 4 of his 9 starts this season. Doesn't look all that great, but he's done it in 3 of his last 4 starts, and he's going up against Oakland, who has the 5th highest K rate against righties over the last 30 days. So I do think that he's going to have a decent chance here. They swing a lot at sliders. Well, guess what? His second pitch is a slider here, so though they hit it well, they're going to swing a lot at, and I think that he's going to get a few more whiffs than he normally does. So Brady Singer over 5.5K is going to be my favorite spot in this game. I don't mind Kansas City potentially on the first 5 either, but overall, you're pretty priced out at this point. Like I said, minus 175 on the money line isn't something that I'm, jumping out of my seat to go and roll with. I also don't mind taking a peek at the under here. 9 runs seems a little bit too high for a Kansas City offense that is meh against lefty pitchers and an Oakland team that I don't think is necessarily going to produce a crazy amount of runs here. JP Sears in the mound for Oakland kind of scares me, but what they've been doing lately is literally 0 to 3 runs. Like, I don't think that their offense is all of a sudden going to come out of nowhere. And Kansas City, I'm hoping they stay right around 4 to 5 runs so that we can cash a pretty sweat-free under here. But Brady Singer over strikeouts is probably my main move here. All right, Houston hosting Milwaukee. This has been a pretty damn good series so far. Game number 1, Houston wins 5-4. Game number 2, Milwaukee wins 4-2. We got Spencer Spaghetti Arrietty on the mound for Houston. 7.5 ERA with a 2 flat whip, a 4.64 whip, going up against, 4.64 FIP. Going up against Colin Rea, 3.45 ERA, a little bit better than 7.5, 1.3 whip, a little bit better than 2, and a 4.46 FIP over there. And from an offensive standpoint, I've been saying it all series long. I've been waiting for a lot of runs to come in. We kind of saw it in game number 1, but I think both these offenses can have some success today. You'll see both pretty much top 10 to 15 offensive categories here overall in terms of ranking. So I do like runs. I'm going to lean towards the over. It's at 9, which is a little bit higher than it's been. Game number 1 was 7.5. Game number 2 was 8.5. But this may be another spot in which we say, hey, let's play both team totals over again. We did that in game number 1 in that cashed. We almost did it in game number 2, took the Brewers over 3.5, but didn't ultimately get there. I think that that's going to be the move again today, because we can kind of, if one hits, one doesn't, or it's a one-sided affair type thing, we can almost mitigate some of our losses, In terms of what we're looking at for runs today, you can get over 4 runs on Caesars for minus 160, a little juice there. That's the Astros. For the Brewers here, over 3.5 for minus 140. So you can kind of dodge that 9 number a little bit. You're paying a little bit more juice, dodge that 9 number by just going team totals individually. In terms of a pitching matchup, I think Rea has the slight upper hand, so I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee on the money line as well. I like the odds that we're looking at too. Houston obviously has the name, going to give them a little bit of juice. They're at home. Milwaukee playing decent baseball, winning yesterday for plus 115 odds. I don't hate that spot. All right, we got the Cubs taking on Pittsburgh. This is a, 1-0 game yesterday. We ended up winning. They were part of that 2-leg parlay for plus money, which was good to hit. 1-0. I think that this one probably is a low-scoring game again. Now, this total's at 7.5, which scares me a little, but Jameson Taillon on the mound, going against Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller obviously has flashes of really good baseball every now and then. He hasn't been all that consistent this season, but I think against the Chicago team, he should fare fairly well. Chicago's struggling against righties. We know Pittsburgh's been struggling against righties, so give me the under as my main spot in this game, and then I'll also lean towards the Cubs here. Texas taking on the Angels. We couldn't bring ourselves to pulling the trigger yesterday for Texas. Kind of wish we did. They did bounce back after a 9-3 loss. They win 3-2 yesterday. Today on the mound is going to be Michael Lorenzen, who I don't know where to come out on him. So his numbers don't really do him justice, but he's had these like flash starts this year. Once against Cleveland, he had a really good, I think that they ended up blowing it later on in the game, if my memory serves me correctly. But he had a good game against them, a good game against Kansas City. But he's had a couple starts where he blows up, right? Going up against Jose Soriano, who is almost the exact same thing. You're either getting a guy that's going to deal through 6 innings or a guy that's going to let up 4 runs in 3 innings. So kind of a toss-up here in this spot. I guess I'll trust the pitcher that will more often not go deeper into the games here. So I'm going to lean towards Texas. In terms of what you're getting for a price, it is pricey at minus 155, but I just really can't get to the Angels, especially given the fact that, like I said, Soriano has had some games in which he pitches 3 innings this season, right? They have 5 guys in the bullpen that went yesterday, so it's not all that great of a spot. If they need to go bullpen, they could definitely let up some runs. So with that being said, I'm going to lean towards Texas. In terms of a total, both these bullpen struggle. I think I leaned over yesterday. It did not cash 3-2 game, but I'll lean towards the over here. Again, we're not putting full-fledged trust into either of these pitchers, and both the bullpen struggle, and the Angels bullpen super taxed. So I'm going to lean towards the over as well. All right, Colorado taking on San Francisco. This is a spot in which Jordan Hicks going up against Dakota Hudson, who I can't believe some of these Rockies pitchers, and I'm not saying this because they play half their games in Colorado and the altitude and blah, blah, blah. Like, I can't believe some of these pitchers have jobs in the Rockies. It's almost like they said, hey, let's go into Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's, give me your employee of the month, and we'll make a starting lineup out of it. It's absolutely absurd. Nonetheless, though, the price is too much for San Francisco, so maybe it's San Francisco and Yankees parlay like we talked about with the Yankees earlier today. That would get you, let's see, throw that into a quick parlay, see what it pays. Probably not even all that great, right? Plus 101 over on, actually plus 102 on ESPN Bet. So if you want to mix in those somehow, I don't mind that play. I'm not all that confident in San Fran compared to the Yankees, but if you want to get a better price on both those with still good chances to hit, I do think that could be the move. In terms of the total, what's making us ever consider an under right now with how many runs San Francisco's scoring and also how many runs Colorado's letting up. So I'm leaning towards the over in this spot as well. All right, Dodgers taking on Cincinnati. I've seen Yamamoto as the listed pitcher for this game. I don't know if I would put much weight into it because the odds for the Dodgers are only minus 150. I know the graphic is minus 115. So I think we'll wait that out just to see who is pitching for them. Hunter Green's on the mound for Cincinnati, who's obviously a decent pitcher, good strikeout guy. I think I'm going to lean towards the Dodgers no matter who's on the mound, because if you can get them at a good price, and then say we do get, Yamamoto or something, who definitely is in line, as he pitched, I believe, in their last rotation after Buehler. Buehler went yesterday. So if you can get Yamamoto at a decent price without him being listed as the pitcher, I don't necessarily hate it, but I like the Dodgers kind of regardless of who's on the mound. I think that their offense is obviously a lot better than what we're looking at from Cincinnati. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that one turns out from a pitching perspective. I'm also going to lean towards the over because Cincinnati against lefties, which if again that's the pitcher we're seeing, they're good on the road, so we'll keep that one in our back pocket just in case we do have to pull the trigger. But you can always rest your head easy on the pillow with an over, knowing you have the Dodgers, because though not saying that they're going to go out there and hit an over themselves every single game, that offense can go off for an over by itself. Do you know what I mean? When it's cooking. So I'll lean towards the over in this spot as well, but I'm very eager to potentially pull trigger on the Dodgers prior to the pitcher getting announced, because if we get kind of lucky, then we're kind of gambling there, and we're gamblers, right? So we shall see, but that is the direction I'm leaning in as of right now. All right, Diamondbacks taking on the Tigers here. Tigers have won both games so far in this series, and honestly, fairly handily, right? 13-0 and then 8-3. So you can't make too much of an argument about which team's playing better baseball in this series, but you do have Matt Manning on the mound going up against Jordan Montgomery. Though their numbers look fairly similar, I do like Jordan Montgomery. If you take out that Dodgers start, he actually has decent stats on the season. So I'm going to lean towards Arizona here. Heavy favorite, kind of turns me off of them, but it is going to be the spot that I like. In terms of the total, I do think 8.5 is a high number for these two teams, but like why wouldn't you consider taking the over? Because look what they've done so far in this series, right? Detroit did it themselves, game number 1, 13-0, and then yesterday 8-3. So I'll lean towards the over, even though I'm admitting that is somewhat of a high number. Now, from a player prop perspective, though, I'm backing the team. I think Jordan Montgomery under 4.5 strikeouts could be a good spot. This season, he has one game where he went above that. It was against Cincinnati. That's a huge strikeout team. Other than that, he's gone 3, 4, 1, and 2. So under 4.5 strikeouts for Montgomery could be a spot to keep an eye on as well. All right, Atlanta taking on San Diego here. In terms of who's pitching for Atlanta, we got Bryce Elder on the mound going up against Yu Darvish. I do think that this is a spot in which, like I said yesterday with this matchup, you're getting a good price for Atlanta. But how can you look past what Yu Darvish has been doing, right? And I don't even know if Yu Darvish is actually the listed starter now that I think about it. We had the postpone from last night, but sometimes they switch up their starters. So this may not be the correct starting lineup, but if it is Yu Darvish versus Bryce Elder, I think I got to trust Yu Darvish, just the way he's been pitching compared to Elder. Though I could see an argument being made to get the Braves at this price tag, Yu Darvish has been dealing, man. 2.43 ERA with a .98 whip and a 2.9 FIP. So I'll lean Padres, but definitely keep an eye on who's pitching. This is a sole Yu Darvish backing, not like a back the Padres overall. In terms of a total, if I'm backing Yu Darvish, I got to lean towards the under as well. And guys, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Comment 24 if you made it this far into the video. Appreciate you listening to my scratchy rundown voice here. A little bit sweat too, which is crazy, but you know what? Sometimes when you're battling the elements, these things happen. But appreciate you guys watching through the entire video. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.